Hyper-sexualized. It's so good to see all of you here today, and I already know something about you. What I know is that you have the courage to confront this problem of pornography head on, so your kids and the kids in your life won't have to face it alone. And when children have parents, grandparents, and others that are with them and mentoring them and helping them, they are more successful. And so today we're going to be talking about a way of thinking about building a structure that looks like a home so that your children are protected from a variety of angles, and we have the 4 pillars. So as you know, pornography is a formidable enemy. It sneaks into the lives of the youngest of children. It awakens a premature interest in sex, and then it sells them a counterfeit and toxic version of it. How do adults and caring parents and grandparents, how do we build children and raise children that are resilient to pornography and that know how to reject it, and not only that, but want to reject it? So these are the questions that I've been asking for several years, and that's what led me to write the Good Pictures, Bad Pictures books, and also found protectyoungminds.org. A couple of things I wanted to start with that have influenced me over the last few years to, I would say, strengthen my approach here. And that is, one, I was able to commission a study, a research study, that where we interviewed 10 self-described porn addicts, 8 males and 2 females. And we learned why kids hire porn. Now, that sounds kind of strange, that kids hire porn, but kids have a lot of jobs to be done. They have a lot of jobs to do as they grow up, and they need resources to help them do those jobs. And kids hire porn to do a variety of jobs, and we'll talk more about that later. But this really informed some of the ways I think about protecting children. The other thing that I've done is I've really gotten into prevention science. There's a lot of prevention science over the last 30 years to help adults help children with substance abuse. So bring down that risk. And I'm borrowing some of their principles, and we'll talk about those later as well. So prevention science. How do we prevent children from getting into pornography? And third, we convene a Parents Advisory Council with Protect Young Minds every year, and I listen to them, I pick their brains, I try to figure out how we can help them with their current challenges. And it was during one of these meetings at the end that this whole idea of the 4 pillars came together. So, with that, let's get started. First, I do want to introduce you to our website. There's a lot of free downloads there, very helpful articles. I hope you'll check it out. Also, I hope every one of you received one of the handouts. Anyone didn't? They're at the very back. So it's really helpful because what I've got, I don't have the time to do a deep dive on any one of these, or not on all of them. So what I've done is I've listed articles on our website that will give a lot more information. And so you can just check them off. It's like a little mini course, okay? And if you will check them off, if you will actually, on your honor, read all these and check them off, send me a picture at info@protectyoungminds. I'm going to send you something. I don't know what it is, It might be a certificate. It might just be an email saying how amazing you are. But I'll send you something. So email me a completed one and let me know that you've really taken this course. The other thing I have is, nothing is going to really, you're spending time here, but if you will write a little action plan, like just one little thing that you want to do with your family, your kids, your grandkids, the kids that are under you, wherever you work, just something, some little action, so that when you go home, you'll have some ideas to start with. Finally, if you'll give me some feedback on this presentation, what was helpful, maybe what wasn't helpful, what you'd like to see more of in another presentation, then what you'll do is rip it off, and there's going to be boxes at the back when you leave, and you will be entered in to a drawing, and we're going to give away 3 Amazon gift cards. $30 each, and I know that sounds kind of commercial, but you know what? I'm going to suggest some books, and they're not mine. I'm going to suggest some books, and you could go to Amazon and buy those with that if you win. So if you win, we're going to do the drawing right after this class, and we will email you the gift card. So use an email that you actually check. I know, I need a clicker. Thank you. I need a clicker. Finally, we have a 4 Pillars bonus bundle. How many of you guys know how to text? Yeah, you all do, I know. If you'll text 4 Pillars to 44222, we will send you this bonus bundle. It has a lot of guides. I'll be referring to some of them in my presentation. And it's a totally free download that will really help you with this 4 Pillars approach. Got it to work. Finally, we have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group, and I want to invite everyone here to come and join us. You go to our Facebook page, you look on the left, it has communities, click on that, and then join our Facebook group, and it's a great place to ask questions. You can ask questions anonymously and give advice, and it's just a wonderful place. Out in the open, people are a little timid to ask questions, but in this group, we tackle a lot of tough stuff. So come and join us. Let's just start with a few statistics. There's a study done by Bitdefender that says 1 in 10 visitors to porn sites are children 10 and under. 1 in 10. And when you realize that there are over 100 million daily visitors to Pornhub every day, that's a lot of children under 10. Not only do children look at pornography, but then they act it out. Because why? Children imitate what they see adults do. They're wired to do that. So in the UK, there was a study done that said 65% of children who had been sexually molested were molested by other children. And a study done at the Kansas hospital in Kansas showed that the children that were coming in that were sexually abused, their perpetrators were on average age 11 to 15. And guess what? These sexual acts that they were perpetrating, it was very clear they were porn acts. They were not your normal exploration. It was definitely inspired by porn. So we know that this is affecting children, and we know that we need to work hard to protect them and to help them navigate this digital world that they live in. Okay, so what does prevention look like? Let's build this house. First of all, it's a foundation of love. Love and lifting the relationship that you have with the children in your life. We need to instill in them sexual integrity, emotional strength, tech stewardship, and brain and body safety. And let's cap all this off with proactive prevention strategies, strategies that prevention science has really identified in the last 30 years. Now, I don't want you to get overwhelmed by this whole thing. Building a house, how many of you have built a house before? It's pretty hard, isn't it? It's tough. But you're probably already doing some of these things. So I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I just hope that some of the ideas that you hear today will fill in and give you some new ideas of what you can do. Oh, guess what? Why do we build a house? We have the sun beating down on us in the summer. Now, I don't know about Salt Lake, but in the summer where I live, it can get to be 113 degrees, 116, 105 in July. And I live in Washington State, but it can get really hot in the summer. Also, we have storms, lightning. So we build a house to protect us and our children, our families, from the weather. The weather's going to happen, right? We can't stop the weather, just like we can't completely protect children from ever seeing pornography. But we can build a home where they can choose to go in and protect themselves. So let's start with the foundation of love. Now, I have to admit that I am stealing this from Sister Joy Jones. She was the UCAP keynote speaker last year, and I just loved her talk all about how love can kill porn. So she showed how these three statements, I love you, I still love you, I will always love you, can help us with our children. Quote, first we say, I love you by truly protecting them. Second, we say, I still love you by the way we respond to their exposure to pornography, whether intentional or not. And third, we say, I will always love you by providing loving support for them as they work on healing if they've experienced compulsive use or addiction. So let's look a little more closely, and I'm going to show you a few of my ideas as well about that foundation of love. And if we don't have that foundation of love, the rest, in a house, right? The rest of the house is could be a little shaky. My daughter and son-in-law bought a house, and lo and behold, it had foundation problems. Right? That's what you always feel like, and they've had to really put some money into fixing that. So, start with love. Oopsies. Okay, go back. Thank you. So I'll protect you, right? I will start talking to you. I will stay informed. Every month we produce an article. We write an article called Parent Alert on Protecting Minds. And it really brings together a bunch of the latest threats, the latest warnings, the latest tools to help you. So check that out. It's important that your children have a safe person to talk to, and it's important to start sooner rather than later. So what age should you start talking to children about pornography? As soon as they have any access to the internet. So very, very young, toddlers. Now, if you're feeling a little bit worried and need a little encouragement about starting at a young age, I've got a few friends that are giving some assurance.
I'm a mother of 4 boys. I just think you really have to start talking about it. My husband does monthly interviews with my boys, and he asks them what they've been doing, if they know to stay away from it, and I really think that helps keep the communication open, and it reminds them every month to make good choices, because we know when you avoid it, it becomes this deep, dark thing, and it's just will go for years.
If I could give any parent advice about talking to their children about pornography, and this is as a professional that has worked with children, and as a mother, I think more importantly as a mother, it would be, it is never too early to start talking to your children. I certainly did not believe I would need to have this conversation at 8 and 5, and that was 5 years ago. You know, I now have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. I did not think that conversation was relevant then, and technology is moving faster than we can keep up with. It is absolutely a conversation that we need to have with our children, and the earlier, the better. The earlier we start, the more comfortable they are. My children, today my 13-year-old is extremely comfortable, and this is a topic, especially as our kids approach their teen years, you think, how are we going to talk to them? When you start, when they're little, there is no context for them yet. We create that context, and we create it in an environment that's safe, and it's something they can talk to us about openly, and there isn't that hesitation. They talk about it, and it's very comfortable. So please start with your children young, and know that even if we can keep our own children safe in our home, the dangers are out there. In our society today, everyone is walking around with a handheld device of some type, and that's a pathway to pornography. And so we have to be having this discussion with our children. We really don't have a choice.
For other parents out there who are nervous about talking to their children about pornography, I would say I'm there with you. I understand, because that's how I felt. I procrastinated for quite a bit. I knew I needed to have that talk, and I kept putting it off, and little things would trickle in, and I'd try and kind of address them as they came up, and I realized we need to have a talk. And so we did, and I was so surprised at how easy it was, if it's done the right way. It wasn't awkward, and if you take it step by step, you can do it. It's really not as bad as you think it's going to be. It's more, I think, our generation. It's not something we grew up talking about, so it's different for us to try to talk to our children about it, but we have to, and it's not that bad. My kids took it really well, and I feel like they understand, and we need to do it.
The bottom line is, you can either talk about pornography when they're 5, 6, 8, and help them be prepared to deal with it, or you can find it on their phone when they're 16 and are struggling to overcome dealing with the effects of pornography.
Don't be afraid to talk about it with your kids. Unfortunately, a lot of kids will come across it before we as parents even know it. So I think anytime a parent has an opportunity to talk about it with their children, don't be afraid. Take that chance. I don't think it's ever too young to start with your children, to talk about this topic with them.
I'm a mother of 4 boys.
Oops. There we go. All right, so it's so important to, after we have that initial love for our children, obviously, but what about when we catch them looking at pornography, or if they come and tell us that someone showed them pornography? It's very common for parents to have feelings of anger, fear, and guilt. But I would highly recommend that you deal with those feelings and then go talk to your child once you've kind of dealt with those feelings. Because if you project those feelings onto your children, there's going to be shame, and they're going to feel certain messages. So for example, they're going to feel like, I'm in trouble. My parents want to punish me. If I can't stop looking at porn, I need to make sure I don't ever get caught again, right? I've got to hide this from my parents. And whenever kids keep a secret from their parents, it's a wedge in their relationship. My parents believe only bad people look at porn, so I must be bad, right? I've caused my parents pain. There's something wrong with me. And, I need to protect them from being disappointed in me. My parents don't really understand the world that I live in. They don't understand the pressures. And so I'm alone. I'm all alone to deal with this. And we don't want our kids to feel that way. We want them to feel our love and acceptance. Finally, I will always love you. Even if our children get involved with pornography and have a problem with it, it's so important for us to stop blaming ourselves and even stop blaming them, especially if they weren't warned. And even if they were, I was thinking back to when I was 13. This is a long time ago. But there were things out there, and I looked at them. I was curious, and I was like actually a pretty good kid. But, you know, good kids get pulled into porn. And so there, but for the grace of God go I. I think we all need to kind of admit that. Another thing, really make sure that you see porn as the enemy and not your child. Admit that porn catches us all off guard. Try to get into their minds and understand their fears. You know, porn can create powerful feelings of need. Your child may have been hiding their porn use because of fears of punishment or fears of having to stop watching it if caught. Reassure your child that these feelings are normal and that your goal is not to punish but to help. And then finally, use words like we and us instead of I and you. I'm so disappointed in you. Rather, we can tackle this together. Guess I could use this clicker. Okay, so let's get started with the 4 pillars. The first one is sexual integrity. So I told you about that study that we did. And one of the jobs that was identified by quite a few of the participants was that the job was, I need information about sex. And my parents aren't talking to me. And I'm hearing all these cues coming at me from, you know, dirty jokes and innuendos and whatever, and I've got to figure this out. What is this thing? What is sex? And so it's so important that we teach them about sex from an early age. We answer the questions very simply at the beginning. You know, when you plant a seed, you don't want to just dump a gallon of water on it, right? You want to maybe even spray it. So it's a drip, 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 and it's the same with talking to kids about sex. When I talk about defining, I'm sorry I'm skipping around a little bit, but defining sexual integrity, get clear on what your values are around, you know, sexual integrity so that you can give those values to your children. My definition of sexual integrity, and yours will be different. Sexual integrity is being honest and careful with my sexual power by using it only within a committed relationship to show love and affection for my spouse and to create a family. Sexual integrity means that I don't use pornography to excite my body because that is misusing the purpose of my sexual power as well as misusing others. So that's just mine. You can make up your own, but I would really take some thought and do that so then you get clarity and you can teach those values to your children. When kids go to school or in any other environment, they may hear slang terms. Make sure you ask them to come to you and not Google those, because often those slang terms are sexual in nature and may lead them to pornography. Then read a book to them. We have a list, and it's on the handout in one of the articles, about 8 books that we have read through and vetted and feel pretty good about as ways that you can start the conversation about sex. Now, why a book? I'm just going to tout the advantages of a book to help you with tough and difficult conversations. Why a book? One, a book has a start. So sometimes it's hard to get started with these conversations, but it has a start. You just open the book and start reading. And then it has a middle with information that can bring up conversations. But guess what? It also has an end. Sometimes these conversations, we don't want them to go on too long. And if they're awkward at all, it's nice to be able to close the book and say, any questions? Great. Let's, it just helps you. And you're already probably reading books to your kids, so it's another comfortable way. But finally, as they get older and know about sex, you need to point out how pornography is diametrically opposed to healthy sexual intimacy. So I've got this slide here, and you can see when you look at healthy sex how, all the positive benefits, right? But on the other side, pornography is the exact opposite. Loving versus violent, selfless versus selfish. So it's so important to give kids arguments, like understanding of why porn is wrong, why porn is bad, why it's not going to be helpful. Got it? Okay. All right. So important to teach kids the correct names of their body parts. This is an article, 7 Things Every 7-Year-Old Should Know About Love and Sex. Highly recommend you read it. And here are the 7 things that we feel 7-year-olds should know. Because if you don't know by 7, the opportunity that they have to see something that is, is pornographic, it just goes up and up. All right, let's go on to emotional strength. Now, why is emotional strength and emotional management, why are these skills so important? Well, we found out in the study that we did from one young man in particular, he told us that he used porn to deal with all of his negative feelings, because whenever he had an emotional outburst or was upset, he was banished to his room to deal with it alone. And guess what? After he found porn, that was the go-to, that was how he dealt with it. It was very distracting, and he could just go and do porn and then forget all his troubles. And it worked. So he hired porn to help him deal with his negative emotions. But that led to addiction and a lot of other problems. So why can't we teach children healthy ways to deal with their negative emotions? We can. Children need to learn to find healthy ways. And one of the ways we've found is to develop, to create emotional care tags for each of your children. What are they? Emotional care tags have 3 different, it's like a fun activity, and there are 3 steps. So when I yell, when I hit, when I cry, so we have the behavior, right? I am feeling, and they state the emotion, and I need what? What healthy thing do you need to deal with that emotion? So I've got a little video of a mom that did this, and in the bonus bundle, we have a template for that, for the care tags. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Evans, and I'm a mother to 5 boys, 2 of which are still at home. And yes, they still have emotional outbursts. So about 1.5 years ago, we created these together, and they required a little bit of detective work. So my son thought that was great fun. We talked about emotions like happy, sad, angry, and then I asked him some more pointed questions like, what are you feeling when you cry? And as you might predict, he answered that he was sad. Where I got surprised is that when I asked him then what he needs when he's sad, he first told me that he needs to be left alone. Now, this was his journey of discovery, so I left it at that. And then I went on and asked him a question about a behavior that I had noticed that I was concerned about. And I knew the answer, but I asked him, do you do you ever hit? And he answered sheepishly that he does indeed hit his brother. And he summed it up as, I'm mad. When I hit, I'm mad. And I asked him again, well, what do you need when you're mad? And he replied, again, I need space. And in this instance, I thought, well, that's fair. But what was really brilliant is that as soon as he said that, it's like a switch clicked. And he said, Mom, can I change my answer for when I cry? Because I think when I'm crying and when I'm sad, I really need comfort. So how amazing is that with just this little exercise of even talking about two emotions, he was able to discover all on his own without me directing him and telling him what his needs should be. He was able to find out for himself. And so we keep our care tags handy as a reminder that sometimes we behave in ways that just don't fill our emotional needs. And I think that's a wonderful lesson for kids to learn while they're young, and they can recognize that they really need to think about what a good positive behavioral response will be to negative emotions.
I really feel like if all children were taught how to deal with their negative emotions in a healthy way, we would cut down the level of addiction to everything by so much. All right. So let's go to tech stewardship. First of all, as you're thinking about technology, I want you to kind of, in the last class that was here, he talked about affirmations. I want you to have an affirmation that you can tackle the tech, okay? Some of us are gifted in technology, some of us are not. But the first thing is really kind of not a tech, it's really an assess how technology is affecting your life. Think about, is it helping our relationships? How is it helping? How is it hurting? And have this discussion in your family so that you can identify ways to use technology in a healthy way and in a strengthening way, because it's awesome. Then I would say commit to finding out about parental controls. If you Google parental control and any device, app, whatever, you will get information on how to set that up in your device or your game. I will say also that controls are not the end all, you know. The filters are great, and I think you need them because you need to put action behind your words. You need to say, I am trying to protect not only you, but our whole family. It's a family thing. We're all in this together. But you will find that some apps do not have parental controls. You only have a parental control if you have like a passcode, right? You don't have a parental control if you have a toggle. And that toggle can be switched back by your child and then switched back again. That's not a parental control. Finally, come up with a plan to gradually introduce your child to more and more, higher levels of technology. When I hear of a 6-year-old with a smartphone, I just want to pull out all my hair because it's like giving a loaded gun to a child because the gun is going to shoot their mind. Not literally, but with material they are not in any way prepared to see or deal with. So on the handout, there is when should kids have cell phones? Savvy Parents Reveal Best Strategy. There's a 4-level strategy in that article that I would highly recommend. Stepping children up in their responsibility so that at some point they can handle a smartphone. Finally, I would really warn you about social media. A lot of parents think Snapchat is just kind of a cute little, it's not. I've been doing a little research with Snapchat. I actually set up an account as if I were a 13-year-old. I would actually recommend that you all do this. And then search for hashtags that you think your 13-year-old or your young child might look for. And you'll see what they're seeing. And it will be shocking. But we need to know what's out there. We need to know what they can get into. Gail Dine said, on Instagram, porn is often hidden behind hashtags and emojis that appear innocuous, but are used as secret code to tag and search for particular types of porn. If teens type a specific fruit or vegetable emoji into the search bar, a list of links pops up to images ranging from women barely clothed to women in sexual bondage restraints. Those images lead directly to pornographic accounts, which are used by many porn performers to build their fan bases. And what does that do? That's money, right? Though Instagram says it uses automated technology to continue to detect and remove nudity and pornographic content, it's clear the platform is not doing a thorough job, and that would be the understatement of the year. They still allow, like, hashtag porn video. Like, if they were really serious, wouldn't they take off that hashtag? I think they would. So there is a fixappratings.com. This is a new initiative, a new campaign you might want to check out. And this is to help, basically these apps are rated 12 plus, and they really should be rated 17 plus. Also, Covenant Eyes has a great new product that looks at the screen. You might want to go and check out some of their, what they have got, because it's very difficult to lock down a phone. It's really amazing how kids can get through. I've seen people lock down a phone. You can get to, if you have Facebook on your phone, but you don't have a browser, you can go to Facebook or any of these apps and go to the Google Facebook page and then click, and you're out into the internet. So really important to understand how easily kids can get to material if they have a social media account. Okay, let's move to brain and body safety. So this is really where my books come into play, and the 3 goals are to, 1, define pornography in an age-appropriate way, give them just enough information so they can recognize it, right? We don't have to do a whole huge nuanced approach, just simple. And the definition that I like is pornography is pictures, videos, or even cartoons of people with little or no clothing on that focus on the parts of the body that we keep covered with a swimsuit. And of course, as they get older, you can, you can improve that or make that more age appropriate. And then we need to tell them why it's harmful, and then we need to empower them with a plan. So I'm going to give you, and then finally teach them body safety rules, because body safety and pornography, they're all in one. Kids that see pornography act out on other kids, and then it becomes child abuse. So for the younger ones, I have the turn, run, and tell. Turn away, run and tell a trusted adult, and they need to know who the trusted adults are, and then tell. Never keep a secret about seeing bad pictures. Now, turn, run, and tell can work for a lot of kids at a lot of ages, but we have the can-do plan for the older children. So close my eyes, always tell a trusted adult. That's kind of like the turn, run, and tell. But name it when you see it. When a child sees pornography, they need to name it. That starts the thinking brain working, because the feeling brain is already getting excited or having some feeling about what they're seeing. But if we bring the thinking brain online, then they know what to do and how to do it. distract myself. When those memories, pornography creates such shocking memories for a child and for anyone that hasn't really looked at it very much. And what do you do with those memories? If we don't give children a skill on what to do with those shocking memories, they may continue to bother that child and even pull them into looking for more. So what do? You teach the child to think of something that they love. Now for me, I love snorkeling and looking at those beautiful tropical fish in Hawaii. I've only done it a couple times, but in my mind, when I have an image pop up that I don't want, I'm going to go and look at the fish, right? Now, if you're a child, maybe it's horses that you love, or maybe it's trucks or whatever, something that excites them, that you can teach them, okay, think about this, and as they practice it, that image will fade. It will just not pop up as much, okay? And they will gain some control over it. Basically what you're doing is you're helping them build a neural pathway away from that image. And the pathway that went to the image starts to grow over, weeds and things. So help children get these skills. And then we talk in the book about having a thinking brain and a feeling brain, making sure that the thinking brain is the boss. And you can learn more about that in the book. So let's talk about 5 important safety rules. As I mentioned before, pornography is associated with a skyrocketing rate of child-on-child sexual abuse. And in fact, next month I'll be going back to Washington, D.C. for a symposium on this very problem. First, teach the names, you probably heard this before, but teach the names of body parts, not just the ones of the gender of that child, but of both genders. I like to tell you a story. After being babysat by a 14-year-old boy who was a trusted relative, a little girl told her mom she didn't like it when David poked her with his stick. Sadly, the mom discounted the stick story, and it wasn't until months later that she found out that her young daughter was being brutally raped. If this little girl had known the word penis, that abuse would not have gone on. It would have stopped with the perpetrator's first act of sexual aggression. So how important it is that we arm our children with the vocabulary they need. We need to define terms for them. Another young man said that when he was 7, his older brother and friend started to abuse him and sexually abuse him. And his mother must have caught wind of it, because she said to the little boy, "Have you ever been molested?" And he was like, no, because obviously there was so much shame and fear in her voice. And guess what? He didn't even know what molested meant. So let's make sure we define our terms. Teaching refusal skills. If someone, even another kid, asks to see my private parts, I say no. Maybe you could even practice this. No one should ever ask a child to keep this a secret about touching or viewing private parts. And make sure they know to come and tell you. And when they do, if they do, believe them. And again, if you're emotional, deal with that away from the child. Let's go on to the roof. Now, as I told you, I've learned a lot about prevention science. And there's 4 principles that if you will use, your children will be a lot safer and the risk will go down for them getting involved in risky behaviors. First of all, create that warm bond. Love, as we talked about, that relationship of love and warmth is the key. Now, it's great if it's a parent, that's ideal, but it can be a grandparent. It can be a teacher, it can be a coach. It can be someone at the youth rec center. It can be anybody but that has healthy behaviors and attitudes that has a bond with that child. Second, establish rules. Kids need boundaries. They need rules. They need to know what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. But then you need to monitor the behavior. Let them know you're watching them. Get some accountability software on the phone or on the computer. Make sure you monitor their behavior. You can't just make rules and not really watch them. And then finally, when you see them being, obedient and going along with the rules, make sure you praise them. Make sure you acknowledge that they're doing the right thing. But if they aren't, make sure you provide consequences. This seems like a simple formula, but it takes a lot of care and it does take a lot of attention. These are the things that the prevention scientists have found out that really work to reduce risk of substance abuse. But I'm going to add a few things here. First of all, girls are vulnerable as well. Often, I did a focus group with teens, and I noticed that all the boys had flip phones, or no phones. Their parents were really like, no, you're not getting a smartphone. Both the girls had smartphones. They were 14 years old. They had an Instagram account. And as I talked to them, I knew that they had seen all kinds of garbage on Instagram. So make sure we talk to our girls as well. Girls are just as sexually curious as boys. It's just that our culture doesn't teach us that, but they really are. I was when I was a kid. Then recruit and educate your neighbors. Make sure that the people that your family members, the people that your kids play with, that they're on board as well. So I recently had a friend tell me she's a mother of young children. She and her husband, her family were invited over to another family's for dinner. And the 9-year-old of the host came up to his mom and said, hey, can I use your phone? And she goes, well, only to watch church videos. He goes, oh, yeah, sure. Well, at that point, my friend was just like, wait a minute. Because she's educated. She's educated herself. She got that funny feeling. So she followed that gut feeling and went into the living room where he sat down on the couch with her 4-year-old and her 2-year-old next and proceeded to go to YouTube. And guess what? He was not looking for church videos. He was looking for porn. So she said, hey, I can help you find a church video. Let me have the phone. She saw what he was looking for, got rid of that, went on to church videos, handed it back. But every time that he got done with the video, he was going back to YouTube, and she kept having to monitor that behavior. At the end, and even her husband was like, why aren't you in with the rest of it? She goes, there's a situation here. Later, they were able to talk to the parents and let them know what had happened. So again, educate yourself, follow your gut when it comes to protecting your children. So at Protect Young Minds, we are really working hard to help parents. And if you'd like to help us, we'd love to have you read our weekly blog. It has so many great tips and tools and information for parents. Like our Facebook page, we'd love you to do that. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and share our resources with others. I just want to end with one final story. Riker is a 7-year-old boy, and he was taught by his mom and dad the can-do plan. He understood what to do if he ever saw pornography. So he was with a friend. They got off the school bus, and they were walking home, and this friend stops at his mailbox, and guess what? Pulls out a magazine, a pornographic magazine, starts looking through it. Now this boy, Riker, he knew. He had been taught. He knew exactly what it was. He said, that's pornography. And the little boy said, what's that? He goes, and then he defined it. He said, pictures of people that don't have clothes on, and those pictures can stick in your mind, and it can become an addiction. And the little boy went on his way with the magazine, but Riker went home and told his mom. and they were able to process that together. Now, what if Riker had never been warned? Probably would have done like me when I found my first Playboy magazine. I looked at it, and then I showed my sister, my little sister. So I corrupted her too. So it's so important, though. Isn't that wonderful that he was taught? If you teach children what to do, especially young children, they will do it. So many people feel like, I'm so afraid to start because what if I ruin their innocence? Well, let me tell you, you can have the cross your fingers plan, or you can have the plan that works, and that is to educate your children, give them a plan so they're not caught off guard. Because when children are caught off guard, they are vulnerable to the porn industry and all the porn out there that is just raining down on them. I believe that when kids are raised with these 4 pillars of prevention, when they're built on a solid foundation of love, and they're covered with protective prevention strategies, they are armed. They will be armed with sexual integrity, and they'll know the trusted adults they can go to ask questions. They'll have the emotional strength to help them identify and meet their emotional needs so they don't have to go to porn or any other addiction. They'll have the stewardship. They'll have a feeling of stewardship over technology and understand how to use it for good and not to have it control their lives. And then they'll have the skills and the information to protect themselves from pornography and from sexual exploitation. They will be prepared in the best ways possible to actually protect themselves. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that you can go home and build your own home with 4 pillars, the foundation of love, and the roof to keep your children, give them the best opportunity to be protected from pornography. Thank you very much.